Yehuda Cohen of the Zionist Freedom Alliance, and you are listening to the Struggle for Israel's Freedom on Free Israel Radio. That's right, Israel, nationalradio.com, the only independent news network in the Middle East. Anyone with comments or questions regarding our program can, of course, email us at struggle@israelnationalradio.com. Today is Tet Zion, the 16th day of the month of Sivan, 5769. I just returned last week from North America, where I was attempting to raise money for the Zionist Freedom Alliance and build new ZFA chapters on university campuses. Anyone following the news over the past week knows that United States President Barack Obama spoke in Cairo last Thursday, and in addition to claiming that Jews have no legitimate right to live and build in the heart of our country, he strengthened the anti-Israel narrative by implying that the existence of our state is somehow connected to the suffering that our people endured in Europe during World War II. On the surface, Obama seemed to scold the Muslim world for its Holocaust denial and institutionalized Jew hatred. By asserting that Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism are wrong, he seemed to be upholding his earlier claim that America's ties to Israel are unbreakable. But a careful study of his words reveals that Obama was actually accepting the Arab view that Israel is a foreign and unlawful intruder in the Arab world. Obama legitimized the basic anti-Israel narrative that the only reason our state was established was to make up for the injustices that our people in Europe suffered during the Holocaust. He legitimized the argument that Jews have no legal, moral, or historic right to our homeland. Anyone in Obama's position must know that the international community recognized the legal, moral, and historic rights of the Jewish people to the land of Israel long before anyone had even heard of Adolf Hitler. In 1922, the League of Nations mandated the reconstitution, not the creation, but the reconstitution of the Jewish Commonwealth in the land of Israel, in its historic borders on both sides of the Jordan River. But President Obama ignored this historic truth in favor of anti-Zionist propaganda. He gave credence to anti-Semitic claims by stating that the aspirations for a Jewish homeland is rooted in a tragic history. He explicitly tied Israel's establishment to the Holocaust by moving to a self-serving history lesson about the genocide of European Jews. I remember when Barack Obama was campaigning. He said once that Zionism is fundamentally just. Fundamentally just. One would assume that such a statement implies a person understands the moral, legal, and historic rights of the Jewish people to sovereignty and self-determination in our ancestral homeland. Rights that predate the Holocaust by thousands of years. The rights of our people to this land are not predicated on the tragedies that befell us during our history in exile. Rather, those rights relate to the fact that we were in exile from our historic Jewish homeland. Our people are the only people to ever possess national independence in this land, and this land is the only place on earth where the Jews have ever been sovereign, the place we never willingly left, and the place to which we always struggled to return. The culminating tragedy of the Holocaust occurred only because we had been denied our right to our ancestral homeland by a series of foreign empires, beginning with Rome and ending with Britain. 6 million Hebrew lives were lost because the legitimacy of our rights was not internationally recognized or internalized in time. The American president, who once claimed to understand the justice of our national liberation movement, should have emphasized in Cairo last week that the Jewish nation has a legitimate right to self-determination in our country simply because it is our country, our homeland, the land of our ancestors, the land of Israel. And we, like the Arabs, are an indigenous Middle Eastern people. But Obama didn't say any of that. And not because he doesn't know. He knows. And not because he's a Muslim or a communist, because he's not really either of those things. Barack Obama is a neo-imperialist, seeking to impose his agenda on the Middle East. Obama has repeatedly said that American foreign policy should be conducted with modesty and humility. At the recent colonialist G20 summit, he disingenuously claimed that there will be no more dictating to other countries and that America should forge partnerships as opposed to simply dictating solutions. In Middle East negotiations, he told the Arab press that America will from now on start by listening, because all too often the United States starts by dictating. Yet, despite these words, Obama treats Israel's prime minister like a child and orders him to freeze all Jewish building in Judea and Samaria. As U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton imperiously demanded, a stop to settlements. Not some settlements, not outposts, not natural growth, no exceptions. Clinton and Obama know what they're doing. No natural growth means strangling to death Jewish towns and villages all over Judea and Samaria. Even communities close to the 1949 armistice line that every negotiation over the past decade has envisioned Israel retaining. It means no increase in population, which means no babies. Or if we have babies, no new schools or housing for them. Not even within existing town boundaries. No community can survive like that. The obvious objective is to undermine and destroy these towns, even before the West tries to force a final solution here. And for all you Jews out there who want to believe that President Obama is our friend, understand that Obama is not our friend. Friends don't force friends to commit national suicide. And at his level of security clearance, Obama knows that Israel relinquishing Judea and Samaria would be akin to national suicide. Obama is not our friend, and neither was Bush. It's amazing to me that Jews can be so naive as to think that these imperialists are our friends, simply because they say the words, "I am Israel's friend." Do Jews have such low self-respect that foreign leaders can buy our obedience with empty platitudes? Real friendship has to be earned and built. Barack Obama has to earn our friendship. If he wants to be our friend, he has to prove himself by first and foremost not demanding that we ethnically cleanse our own people from the heart of our country. And I hope no one out there misunderstands me. I have nothing against the United States of America. Americans are good people, and America is supposed to be a great country. But the political leadership of America, the same political leadership who has stolen America from the American people, is trying to steal Judea from the Jewish people. They are trying to steal the land of Israel from the nation of Israel. And listeners who think that I'm just talking about Obama need to get their heads out of the sand before they suffocate. Wake up! I'm talking about the true rulers of America who groomed and presented Obama to the American people and who have been running U.S. foreign policy for decades. This isn't about Democrats or Republicans. Presidents from both parties have oppressed the American people equally and have an equal share of blame in destroying the rest of the world. It's the same oligarchy behind every administration that has worked to curtail the civil liberties of the American people, erode America's own national sovereignty, and push a globalist agenda on the rest of the world. And in the Middle East, this agenda has led every American president for at least the past 30 years to push for the shrinking of our borders and the expulsion of hundreds of thousands of Jews from their homes. And let's not forget the erosion of Israeli sovereignty. Since 1992, when U.S. President George Bush and Secretary of State James Baker interfered in Israel's political system to remove Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir from power, since then every Israeli leader has behaved like a vassal governor to a foreign power. Last year at Annapolis, the U.S. government was empowered to monitor and judge the fulfillment of Israel's commitments under the roadmap. Israeli sovereignty was essentially surrendered by Ehud Olmert as he departed the Prime Minister's office to George W. Bush as he departed the White House. And now, Barack Obama speaks as if Israel's status as a banana republic must remain irrevocable, while he acts free to change course and deviate from the policies of his predecessor. He denies the same privilege to his Israeli counterpart, who was recently elected by the Jewish nation to stop the surrender of our homeland. But the truth is that Obama is not really deviating from the policies of the Bush administration. Despite his earlier commitments, he is not closing the Guantanamo Bay detention camp. He is not pulling American troops out of Iraq or Afghanistan. He is not revoking the Patriot Act, and he is continuing Bush's attempts to shrink and weaken Israel. I recently saw Obama speaking on television about why he will not be closing Guantanamo Bay, while essentially adopting nearly all of Bush's policies. He made sure to verbally assault his predecessor with criticisms of character, not policy but character, in order to deflect attacks from the public that he is adopting Bush's agenda. Immediately after Obama spoke, former Vice President Dick Cheney was brought on to attack Obama and defend the previous administration. This was all a clever show to make the American people see Obama and Cheney as political opponents, to mask the fact that the new administration is simply following through with the agenda of the previous administration. Barack Obama and Dick Cheney are both members of the Council on Foreign Relations, and they both have the same agenda for America and for the entire world.